You ever click that Buy Now button and a package just magically appears at your door, super fast? Well, behind that magic is this massive, complex world inside a warehouse. And here's the surprising part. A huge chunk of that process is ridiculously expensive. So today, we're going to dive into how a really powerful mix of AI and robotics is tackling a huge bottleneck in the logistics world. This could seriously change the way we all shop online. All right, let's get into it.
Here it is. This is the number that keeps warehouse managers up at night. A whopping 55% of all warehouse operating costs, they come from just one thing: picking the orders. Yep, that's the cost of people and machines physically finding and grabbing items for your order. This single massive expense is the pressure cooker that's driving a revolution in how warehouses work.
And this is the chessboard where it all plays out. A typical warehouse. It looks organized, sure, but for a manager who's trying to juggle hundreds of workers and thousands of orders, it is an incredibly complex puzzle.
So here's our game plan for this explainer. We'll start with that 55% problem. Then we'll look at the new human-robot teams. We'll compare the old, simple rules to a new, much smarter strategy. And then we'll peek under the hood of the AI. After that, we'll see a head-to-head competition. And finally, we'll talk about the real-world payoff.
Okay, so let's start with that main challenge. It really isn't just about the money. It's about the incredible amount of time and human energy it takes to get every single order out the door.
So the industry's big idea has been to bring in robots, these automated guided vehicles, or AGVs, that can zip around the warehouse by themselves. But here's the twist. Just throwing robots at the problem doesn't actually solve it. In fact, it creates a whole new and honestly a much more complicated management problem.
And that brings us to the new reality on the warehouse floor. It's a hybrid workforce. You've got humans and robots working side by side. And managing that team, well, it requires a whole new playbook.
Now this is where it gets really interesting. A human worker and a robot worker have a lot in common, right? You got to track their location, what they can carry, their to-do list. But the robot introduces one critical new variable that changes absolutely everything: its battery level.
And that leads to the million-dollar question this research wanted to answer. It's not just who gets which order anymore. It's a two-part puzzle. How do you hand out tasks to be as efficient as possible, while at the same time managing the energy levels of your robot fleet so they don't just stop in the middle of an aisle?
So to solve this, the researchers basically set up a duel between two very different ways of thinking: the traditional kind of short-sighted approach versus a new forward-thinking master plan.
Okay, so the old way uses what are called heuristics. These are just simple if-then rules. You know, if a robot's battery is under 20%, send it to charge. It's myopic. It only sees what's right in front of it and has no idea what's coming next. But the new way, this model called NeuroDAP-P, is non-myopic. It's always looking ahead. It learns the rhythm of the warehouse and considers the future consequences of every single move. It might see a big rush of orders coming and send a robot with 50% battery to charge now so it's ready for the chaos.
And this is the perfect way to think about it. The simple rule is like a chess novice who's just thinking about their very next move. NeuroADP, well, it's like a grandmaster, strategically planning several moves into the future to win the whole game.
So how in the world does this AI pull off that grandmaster level thinking? Let's take a quick peek inside the NeuroADP model.
The secret here is a super clever shortcut. See, trying to calculate every single possible future outcome would be impossible. It'd break any computer. So instead, it uses a neural network to guess the value of making a certain decision. It basically develops an intuition for what a good future state looks like, and then it makes moves in the present that lead toward that better future.
So here's how it makes a choice. At any given moment, it looks at all the possible moves. Give a worker an order, send a robot to charge, or just have them wait. Then, its trained neural network predicts the long-term value, or payoff, for each of those moves. And finally, it just picks the action that leads to the best predicted future, not just the best immediate result. It's playing the long game.
So the theory is pretty cool, right? But does it actually hold up in the real world? The researchers put NeuroADP to the test in a head-to-head showdown against those older, myopic strategies.
And the results? Well, for a standard team of humans and robots, they're pretty dramatic. The NeuroADP Grandmaster model filled 2,051 orders. The best of the old-school strategies? It only managed 1,967. That's almost 100 extra orders out the door. And get this, it's not from adding more robots, it's just from making smarter decisions.
But let's raise the stakes. What happens in a scenario where managing batteries is even more important? What if you take the humans out of the equation and the whole warehouse is run by robots?
Well, check this out. When the workforce is all robots, NurADP's lead gets even bigger. It still processed over 2,000 orders, while the next best strategy just cratered, down to 1,881. This proves that the smarter the AI is about managing that critical battery variable, the bigger its advantage becomes.
Okay, so what's the bottom line? Let's boil all this down to a quick executive summary of why this really matters for business.
The business benefits are just crystal clear. You get more orders out the door, full stop. You get smart, proactive battery management that avoids expensive downtime. The system can adapt on the fly to a sudden rush of orders. It consistently beats the old ways of doing things. And, maybe most importantly for us, the customers, it all leads to faster and more reliable delivery times.
So, if you remember one thing, let it be this. The future of these smart warehouses isn't just about adding more robots. The real game changer, the real advantage, is adding that layer of intelligence that can manage the whole system like a grandmaster playing chess.
And that kind of leaves us with a big final question. As automation just becomes the standard way of doing things, we have to ask, is our strategy built just to react to what's happening right now? Or is it truly designed to play and to win the long game?